This is you without Collaborator. Invisible, just another seagull. And this is you with Collaborator. Get noticed in the AI era.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Online visibility is not luck, it's a strategy. Combine SEO, digital PR, and content distribution to grow. Visit adz.com to learn more.
Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about winning in e-commerce SEO. Specifically two areas, AI overviews and organic product grids. First of all, just a little dramatic story. So the way we shop in Google has changed. I'm sure everyone in this room will have noticed this in some way or another. Our customers' research has changed. So instead of those typical 10 blue links for informational queries, we're seeing AI overviews showing for a lot of those terms now. And AI mode is there for most searches as well. It's like obviously you're more than aware, you don't need me to explain what that is. But their paths to conversion have also changed. So again, the 10 blue links for queries like what I'm showing here, like trail running shoes, or I think it's brown leather jackets. My glasses are not quite doing me any favors here. We're seeing those organic product grids showing in place of category pages in that top pack a lot of the time. Again, it's nothing new, but it's something just to point out that if we're still thinking about 10 blue links, then, well, you're miles behind. Knowing where these experience changes are will allow you to adapt your strategy accordingly. And for the sake of illustrative purposes, I conducted a really small scale study. So we're talking around 2,000 e-commerce keywords here, and I segmented those into two intents, commercial and informational. I'm aware intent is a lot more nuanced than this. It's not just as clear cut as how I've put it here, but I'm trying to prove a point. In commercial, I've split those into browsing and comparison, which I'll get into in a sec. For the informational search terms, AI overviews appeared for 66% of those search terms. Now, obviously it's to do with the data set that I put in there, but as well, they are realistically well-rounded, as well as, as well as the 66% for the complete data set. There was a 17% visibility of AI overviews, but that is definitely more of a data set issue, and the number you should be focusing on is that 66% visibility for informational terms. AI mode is also available for most searches, but for the sake of this talk, I'm going to focus mainly on AI overviews in Google. For the commercial searches, 63% of the time, product grids appeared for those browsing queries. So we're talking like short to medium tail keywords, things like trail running shoes, like I showed before. For the complete keyword set, this was around half of those keywords. One really interesting point is for product comparison searches, 83% of the time, they return the discussions and forums pack. Now, I'm not going to unpack this in any great detail today, but one really important notation is that AI overviews for product comparisons rarely shows. At the moment, I guess this is sort of telling us that Google doesn't feel like they can handle that within AI overviews, like the product comparisons. And we know from data that's out there that consumers are actually using like generative search as a basis for product comparisons as well. So Google sees like its best opportunity is showing the discussions and forums. So how do we adapt our SEO strategy to these changes? The two areas, like I said, I'm going to focus on are organic product grids and AI in Google search, specifically AI overviews. First of all, Google organic product grids. So a little bit of a prediction here, and I'm getting less and less confident about this as days go on. So feel free to pull this apart. I'm sure there's plenty of people that'll disagree. So organic product grids are here to stay regardless of AI mode. I hope that is true. Something else as well that I, at the time of putting this together, fully believed is that the marketplace experience is here to stay as well. So browsing a large selection of products, and in some form or another, I believe Google will still offer that as a service, just like you wouldn't get a personal shopper every time you go into a department store. The elements of control for organic product grids are basically stuff off your site and stuff on your site. The stuff off your site is the merchant center and product feeds. Technically, product feeds are part of your website, but they're handled externally generally. And then structured data and on-site content. The thing you have to consider before you get to any of that optimization area, like that on-site optimization, or even optimizing your feed, is your eligibility for free listings or organic product grids. There's three main areas where you will be disapproved, or you will find your disapprovals sitting in for that will be blocking your eligibility. The first one being a missing or disapproved merchant center feed. This is pretty obvious, like if you don't have a feed, it's not going to work. The second one, a mismatch between feed and your on-page content. This can cause disapprovals at a product level, but also wider disapprovals. You will likely get a lot more information from Alex on this shortly. And then a lack of required attributes and set up a merchant center. Again, another basic one, but I'm bucketing a lot of stuff under like these 3 points here. So this could be anything from you just don't have your shipping policy in there, or your store is set up incorrectly. There's a little pro tip here, something that I immediately check if I'm looking into this myself, and that is to compare valid items with merchant listings with product snippets. You could just do this in Search Console. It's not my idea. I robbed this from Brody Clark. If you go to his website, you can find out loads more information around organic product grids as well. So how do we optimize for Google organic product grids? Now, I have put together a table slide for this, but I'm not going to present all of it. This is more for you guys to have when I do share it, or like you're doing now, take a photo of it. This list is not exhaustive as well. I will just clarify that. These are just the high priority areas for optimization. What I'm going to do now, though, is jump into the three key optimizations to do right now for organic product grids. Those come under product titles, product schema, and feed to page consistency. When it comes to product titles, they should be named like after your product attributes and not your internal merch systems. So, for example, in your CMS, in this case ASICs, say the product name could be Novablast 5. It's not descriptive, and when it hits the feed and it's on the product page, it needs to follow a formula similar to the one here. The key attribute, obviously, to be grammatically correct, it can come before or after. The product type, I've just tried to make this as simple as possible so I could create a fancy looking slide about it. The second part of this is structured data. So valid schema is your ticket in for a lot of this stuff. Out of the box, all of the stuff in green is generally in most CMSs like Shopify and the like SFCC, that sort of stuff. But the stuff in orange is generally not there out of the box, and I definitely recommend adding that in if you don't already have it. The green stuff is mandatory. The orange stuff is basically giving you a bit of a competitive advantage. One area we'll call out is the has variant schema, product variant schema. You can increase your performance by a lot in organic product grids by focusing on product variant schema. Something to be noted here as well is when you're optimizing your schema, don't just be doing it in a silo for product grids. Schema basically shapes the whole search ecosystem. Just be aware of that when you are working on it. And then finally, the feed to page consistency. This is basically mandatory for visibility in organic product grids. You can build a workflow to audit this, so things like a site crawl, pulling like their XML feed and comparing with your structured data as well, all in one bulk thing to make sure everything matches up once you've done your optimizations. One key call out here is that so in most of these cases, it basically just gives you a bit of a barrier to visibility. But if your price mismatches, you will likely be disproved. So if your price in your feed is lower than the price on your site, it's a disapproval for that product, and sometimes could be worse. A little success story here. So this is from one of our large e-commerce clients. I can't share the client name, but over the period of July to August this year versus the previous period, we saw a 74% increase in clicks and a 15% increase in revenue to PDPs. Now, this is versus previous period, so this is not an increase in saturation of organic product grids. the SERPs relatively stayed pretty stable during this time. This is directly because of those three things I've just been through. There's a couple of things outside of your control that do impact visibility in product grids, and I don't want to ignore that. So pricing, shipping, and returns. These things, in some cases, you can control them. It just depends. But for the everyday SEO, or especially if you're working at an agency, you can't influence the price of your clients' products. And if their competitors selling the same product for a lower price, they're just going to have a natural advantage in the results. These all feed into something called the Top Quality Store Program, which Alex is an absolute expert on again. So just to wrap this section up, trying to be a little bit dramatic here before I go and talk about AI overviews. It does get the headlines, like it's what everybody's talking about, right? But product grids drives the revenue, like right now. It's something you can change now, optimize for now, and get revenue for next month. There's not many things in search that you can do that with, right? So moving on to AI in organic. So AI overviews specifically. Again, just sort of considering the future here. It's very likely that AI mode or some version of AI mode, a generative experience, will move into core. But right now, AI overviews is appearing for most informational search queries, and that's what I'm going to talk about. There's two priority areas for SEOs right now, the way I see it. First one being managing expectations, and the second one, a little bit of clickbait, and that's optimizing for AI visibility. Just unpacking that first one, managing expectations. I reckon around about 80-90% of our collective effort as SEOs right now needs to be on that, because that second part from me is clickbait. There's not much different you can do to optimize for AI search. It's more about understanding the systems. Now, on that managing expectations piece, data shared without context does cause confusion. What I'm showing here is something that was referred to, I think, as like the great decoupling. Like everyone at the time, going back a few months, was sharing graphs on LinkedIn of clicks going down, but impressions staying the same or increasing. Now, there's a sweeping generalization that if this happens, it's AI overview's fault. What you can actually do is prove it with something like Systrix. They can show you where AI overviews, and many other tools do it as well. I just have a preference for Systrix. They can show you where AI overviews is appearing on a keyword level. You can overlay this with GSC data and basically show where you are losing traffic to AI overviews. Actually put in like real keywords to the traffic that you're losing. One really interesting, I guess, like anecdote here is that when you do this, you'll probably find a lot of those keywords that you are losing traffic for are not actually that valuable. Now, moving on to like the practical side of it, knowing how AI overviews or AI works in general is crucial for being cited, because you can understand your areas of control. I've tried to put together a really, I guess, like basic way. I've dumbed down as much as possible, or as I understand it, the process of AI overviews and how it works. There will be experts out there that understand this in a much greater detail than I do, but this is a non-expert trying to understand it for myself so I can help my clients. So say we search how to run faster and we get this AI overview for how to run faster. What AI overviews or Google is doing in the background is expanding that query with query fan out. It's like word of the day, that, isn't it? Then it retrieves the Google search results from the search index for those queries. The most relevant results from that result set are then passed into Gemini. Gemini then summarizes and adds citations. In most of these areas, you have a level of control. You control your content coverage. Do you have a relevant result that can be cited in these queries? You control your discoverability. Is your site indexable for those pages? Do you have crawl errors, that sort of thing? Like the previous talk on this stage about indexability, that's the sort of area that you need to be focusing on to make sure that your site is discoverable. And then to a degree, you do control your relevance, but at the same time, you can rank really well in organic and still not show in AI overviews. So back at sort of like reinforcing this point, it's sourced from already crawled and indexed content. So if you are not indexed, you just simply won't be included. Now I'm going to go into 4 ways to increase your AI overview visibility. Again, I'm sorry guys, but this is a little bit of clickbait, so absolutely no promises here. One thing that we're doing is focusing on site structure projects. Now, I actually have a full talk about information architecture for the specific purpose of e-commerce. So if you just whack my name into YouTube, it will come up. Hopefully it's the only video that comes up in YouTube for that. But what you want to be doing basically is moving from a disjointed site structure into like a well-structured site. And what I mean by that is having a clear hierarchy. You want topical clusters of content. Your site should, if you crawl it in a force-directed crawl diagram, look like the site you see in here on the to this section. You want minimal internal link issues and just like clean crawling pathways. So you're looking to get rid of like redirect chains, soft 404s, all that stuff. Then an added layer to this is structured data will help that content be understood by Google so that Gemini can use it. That is kind of a gross oversimplification, but structured data doesn't feed AI directly, but it powers the systems that AI can sometimes take from. So it's still important to have structured data on your site, if not more so. Now, there's 2 areas for structured data within e-commerce. I've talked about products, so I'm not going to focus too much on it, but FAQ and how-to are the big ones when it comes to AI overviews, because AI does love that Q&A format. So marking your FAQ content up with FAQ schema is pretty much non-negotiable at this point. On that topic, AI does love Q&A content. So I have a few little practical things that you can do, and I've put together a few flowcharts talking through it. So what you can start doing, or realistically as an e-commerce site, I must say, you're probably doing this already. Like this is nothing new. Adding FAQs to a product page or adding FAQs to a category page, it's not new. That's my whole point about like this whole GEO thing. It's kind of a big nothing burger at the moment. So flowchart, identify your priority pages, because doing this at scale for a big site is really hard. Research real user questions. You don't want AI coming up with those FAQs. You want to speak to your customers or try and understand the questions that your future customers will have. And then add those FAQ blocks to page. Just a little point here is using server-side rendered JavaScript if it is a JavaScript handled FAQ block. Another practical way of doing this, and something that you will likely have seen as a LinkedIn post, is summarizing some of your informational content as like just a concise answer summary at the top of the page. So if you have a blog section on your e-commerce website and the article covers one singular topic, it's quite easy to just answer that question and stick it right at the top. It does increase your chance of citation, but again, it doesn't guarantee it. One thing it does do though is reduce frustration for users. Now, there's a separate part to this, which is chunking. And it's like, realistically, I don't know enough about it. I know there's some smart people out there that talk about it. And if your article does cover multiple topics, I'd recommend researching that and seeing if it's worth going into for yourself. Now, this is less of a practical tip to optimizing for visibility within AI overviews. But one thing when I was putting all of this together is that query fan out piece just stood out to me as a great opportunity for influencing your content strategy. So there's a tool here. I know it's really small. It's linked at the bottom. So if you get a copy of the deck, you'll be able to go to this. It's built in Streamlit. So it's quite easy to use, open to everybody. You just need a Gemini API key. You type in your query. You will then get the query fan out for that query. As far as I understand it, it's based on the AI mode query fan out, so very similar to AI overviews. What comes out is these 15 to 20 articles that it's looked at as part of that query fan out, or article titles. You can use that to inform your content strategy. There's some really valuable stuff in it. It's like a shortcut for content strategy. It's pretty cool. Now, just wrapping this up, being cited in AI overviews is a game of probabilities and not guarantees. So there's no guarantees with organic performance when it comes to AI overviews. And you definitely don't need a new strategy to optimize for generative search platforms. That is my opinion. I know that people will share, like, you need a brand new GEO strategy. They're usually agencies that have a GEO service. We're looking at adaptations to your existing SEO strategy to remain relevant as search changes. A lot of the advice is just good or even basic SEO advice, which is probably why, as I was running through that, a lot of people are like, I'm already doing this on my site. And you probably are. Now, just bringing it all together with a really quick summary. For organic product grids, we're going to ensure eligibility, optimize product titles and schema, and get consistency between the feed, the page, and our structured data. Now, AI in Google search, or AI overviews specifically, ensure discoverability. That is the single most important thing, and it isn't really important thing for organic anyway. Then make your content relevant and test to increase your chance of citation. So again, a lot of the stuff I talked through, it's all about testing and not necessarily doing it to every piece of content across your entire site. If Google changes the experience, you adapt the strategy. You don't need to rip it up and start again. Thanks a lot.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Wait, do you want free ice cream, or do you want to know the latest in how search behavior is changing? If it's the latter, download Search Pulse by Reflect Digital. Get that now.
You've got two blind spots, keyword rankings and LLM visibility. Now, most tools solve one, but AccuRanker solves both. See how at booth number 18.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.